All right, we have the 1990s. 1990s, you have a lot of advancement in technology and trade. And so instead of America kind of mostly relying on itself to take care of itself, now we have all sorts of countries providing different things for us, and we provide different things for them. This means that all the countries become more interdependent. We depend on each other for different things. Take a car, for example. Even in an American car like a Ford, you have parts in that car that come from all over the place. Maybe some from Canada, maybe some from Japan. Even though it's assembled in the United States, that's one example. All right, the 1990s. Here are our objectives for today. We want to identify important events during the Clinton presidency and summarize important economic changes during the 1990s, including the use of technology and the growth of international interdependence. So, Clinton. George Bush, he was president after Reagan. He was pretty popular after the Persian Gulf War. However, towards the end of that 4-year term, and his popularity decreased. The economy stopped growing. Also, he had promised the American people he would not give any new taxes, and he broke that promise and put a new tax into place. So in 1992, after Bush had just one 4-year term, Clinton becomes president. Clinton is quite different from Bush as a person and as a president. Under him, the economy grew again. Inflation remained really low, and we had a balanced budget for the first time in a long time. Businesses were able to hire more workers, and by 1998, instead of having a deficit like we had under Reagan and Bush, where we were spending more money than we collected on taxes, now we had a surplus. And that has not happened since Clinton was president. We've always had spending more than what we're collecting in taxes. So that's a pretty good thing he did. He was also a peacemaker. He helped peace form in Northern Ireland between Catholics and Protestants, and then also in the Balkan region in Yugoslavia. Here is the electoral map. So this is after Bush's first term. You can see he gets 370 votes to 168 electoral votes. So really not super close. Not a crazy landslide like Reagan, but not too close. And then here's his second election. So this time a different Republican is running against him. And this is even more of a landslide than the first one. He gets 379 electoral votes. Clinton, however, becomes impeached during his second term. After he was reelected, there was a scandal. He had lied about his personal life in court. And when you lie in court, that's called perjury. And so the House of Representatives voted to impeach him on the fact that he lied in court. So when you get impeached, that's when the government, they charge you with breaking the law, basically. He was the second president to be impeached. The first one was Andrew Johnson. And so during this impeachment trial, he was found not guilty. They said he didn't technically lie. During his presidency, though, was the longest period of economic growth. We had 10 whole years where computers were booming. They were becoming better, faster, less expensive. They weren't just used by businesses. Now they were used as personal computers. Thanks to people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, now the everyday person would have the opportunity to have and use a computer. There's the Apple computer over here, Apple II, it looks like, and there's a Microsoft version. The internet links computers around the world with each other. All these new technologies are all in the 90s. You see PlayStation 1 didn't even have the analog sticks at all. You have Nintendo 64. Maybe some of you have played around with that. These old cell phones. This is back before cell phones even had color on their screens. It'd just be like gray and green, basically. kind of like an old Game Boy if you used to have a Game Boy. Growing computer business. This created a whole new industry, which meant this was going to be good for the economy. So high tech. This made cell phones, internet software, computers are being used in machines and being used to replace certain jobs that people would have to do. Makes it quicker, safer, less expensive to get things done. A lot of people instead then went to service industry jobs like being a waitress or a waiter or taxi driver, things like that. Those would be service industry jobs. Provide information or perform tasks. So a number of people with manufacturing jobs decreased then. Here's a look at some of the old cell phones back when they were first being developed. A connected world we have. So because of all this technology, now it makes the world seemingly smaller. In the 1830s, it would take you 4 weeks to get your information to England. Now, at the click of a button, almost instantaneously, you can send information all the way around the globe. Transportation and trade benefit as well. You have more trade among nations. Nations then become not independent, interdependent, it should say. They depend on each other. Trade agreements. You have the free trade agreement that's created where we can trade stuff freely. We don't have to tax each other on it. So remove the taxes and tariffs. So that means it's going to cost companies less money because they're paying less in taxes, which means it'll cost the consumer or the customer, it'll cost them less as well. So then they can buy more. So the 1990s, you have the United States, Mexico, and Canada. We sign a free trade agreement. Now, this is something that's been in the news that Trump has been working on, trying to get it renegotiated. He didn't think it was a good enough deal for us, and so, but that was signed in the 90s. All right, our summary. During the 1990s, the economy grew quickly. Clinton tried to settle conflicts in Northern Ireland, Middle East, and Yugoslavia. And computers and high-tech businesses contributed to the economic boom. The world became more interdependent because of better technology and increased trade. Here is just a little bit after the 90s. We don't have a lesson on the 2000s, but this is the 2000 election map. This is after Clinton's 2 terms. Bush, George W. Bush, he was the son of the Bush that was president after Reagan. This is his electoral map. Very, very, very close. This election came all down to Florida by just, I believe it was just a couple thousand votes to determine who got the state of Florida. And there was like a recount. It was a big controversy. And then here's his second election. And then 9/11 also happened in the 2000s. September 11th, 2001. There's the memorial from an aerial view in downtown New York. That's all for the 90s. That is the last social studies lesson for the year. No test this time. No big assignment, just tomorrow we'll have our current events, and everyone have an excellent summer. I hope to see many of you again here next year up on 3rd floor. Don't be shy, say hi to me when you see me. I love seeing my former students. If you like tennis, come out for tennis next year in 6th grade. We do tennis, it starts about beginning of February, end of January. It's a good time. Blessings on your summer. Hope to see you next year.